Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Long Walk Talks. My name is David Hensley. I'm the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I am joined today by my two co-hosts, Stan Wilson Lee.
Happy New Year.
And Chris Wilson Barnes.
Do what you want.
And this is going to be our last episode of 2019 and our last episode of the decade. Today we are wrapping up our new Roaring Twenties themed discussion that we've had ongoing for the last couple of months. We're going to round things out by discussing the best films of the last 5 years, 2015 through 2019. So, Stan, before we get into the new Roaring Twenties, why don't you start us off by telling us your favorite or best personal picks of the year 2015?
2015. Interesting year. But I'm going to go, I was really excited by Mad Max Fury Road. And probably my favorite movie of that year, and probably my favorite performance was from Creed, and that would be Sylvester Stallone, believe it or not, reprising his Rocky to introduce us to the new young Creed. And I really loved that movie a lot, and I actually saw that in the theaters. But my best film of that year I didn't see until probably 2016, after it was, awarded and everything, and that would be Spotlight,
Nice.
Story about the Boston Globe's examination of the sex abuse by priests going on, and again, another great performance from Mark Ruffalo. Well, the whole cast in that is just amazing. But yeah, Spotlight, that would be, with Creed a close second.
Very nice. Still have not seen Spotlight. Chris, how about you? Best or favorite movies of 2015?
I mentioned this off mic, but it's just like, this is the section that's going to be the worst for me because my ability to see movies drastically went down.
Yeah, that's true. Chris did go blind over the last couple of years.
I will hit you with my phone as
And a
soon as
little
I can
deaf.
find you.
I heard that with my baddie.
Nobody tell him that he's actually holding a hot iron and not the microphone.
That's worse for you.
We can still hear you.
It's a poker.
Speaking to the iron.
Ow!
2015.
Speaking
What
to
you
the
got?
iron.
Well, I realized
Put that on a t-shirt.
2015. Well, that was Force Awakens came out that year, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I saw that late, but that was pretty good. I'm not as emotionally attached to Star Wars as say Dave is, but I enjoyed it. That was Avengers: Age of Ultron that year.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I saw it later, but Ant-Man was really good. I really enjoyed Ant-Man. And again, later, Inside Out, the Pixar movie about what if your emotions had emotions. Or what does that mean? Is like, what if blank had feelings? Is every Pixar movie?
Pretty much, yeah.
And you and Katie had me sit down and watch Mad Max Fury Road. I had to watch it in 2 parts, unfortunately, but it was really good. It was really good. I think out of all of those, I think my favorite that year was, I think maybe Ant-Man.
Nice.
It was the most fun to me, I think.
Ant-Man was a shocker because I think we were all expecting that to be the weak link in the Marvel movies. So
Yeah,
when
that's what people were thinking.
and I mean, I remember watching the first trailer for that film and thinking, oh, this is going to be terrible, to the point where I almost didn't see it in theaters. And I'm so glad that I did, because it ended up being a wonderful film.
Sense of humor of it was just phenomenal, and
The heart.
carried throughout, and the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't beat Paul Rudd.
Okay.
All right.
Rude. Paul Rudd.
So Ant-Man and Spotlight were your picks. For me, 2015, I am going with, for best film, Mad Max Fury Road, with Creed as a very close honorable mention. And this is one of the few years where I actually remembered to pick worst ofs, just because there were 2 in particular that really pissed me off.
What stood out to you?
Well, the first one is The Hateful Eight.
Okay, it's back on the worst list. Good, because I don't feel bad listing it as mine.
Yeah, man, I was looking forward to that movie so much to the point where I pre-ordered and paid extra for 70mm roadshow tickets. The three of us and my wife Katie, and I feel like, was it just the four of us that went? I think so.
I think so, and
Yeah.
I still have the program somewhere from.
I think I do too. What a massive disappointment from one of my favorite directors. After all the praise I have heaped on Tarantino in the past episodes, and spoiler alert again later in this episode, it was his worst film, and it lived up to the name of being hateful.
It was an angry stage play.
I
It
think
really
I
was.
think he was really mad when he made that movie. For some
I think
reason.
so, and I think it's because the script leaked online.
Really, what makes you think that? Is it the monologue where Samuel Jackson goes on and on about having a white guy suck his dick?
Yeah, that was around the point where I was like,
It is
oh,
like 3 or 4 minutes, and he uses the words like ding-a-ling and
yeah, ding dong, and
Have you seen the
I have.
there is-
theatrical version yet? The cut, the.
No, I haven't watched. I need to watch the one that's the version that's on Netflix.
There's-
currently,
there's-
the
You might
extended version.
dig that.
there's
one.
artful like swooping shots of him on a mountainside as he pantomimes getting head from
because that's
from a
cut,
distressed white guy.
that area is cut down a little bit. So
Oh, thank God.
Good.
And my other.
Well, I didn't need to add. I thought you softened up on it a little bit previously.
Softened up, yes.
because Walton is pretty good in it.
Yeah, I mean, Walton Goggins is good. Samuel L. Jackson is good. It had a great cast.
I'm not saying people didn't bring their best to it.
Bruce Stern was awesome.
I've been meaning to sit down and watch it again and give it a second try for literally years now, and I just haven't. But my other honorable mention for worst film of that year, and I'm going to get some heat for this probably, is Crimson Peak, another movie that Katie and I both were really looking forward to, and it was marketed as this might be a case of really terrible marketing, but it was marketed as a gothic horror film.
Oh, that's the Del Toro one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. And instead,
The Rock
it's
was the other one, the Green Inferno, right? Yeah.
oof, yeah. Katie tried watching The Green Inferno one night and couldn't make it. But yeah, Crimson Peak, marketed as a gothic horror film, actually just a gothic family drama with some ghostly elements in there. It was really weird. It was really badly paced. Did not enjoy it. It wasn't a great year for two of the world's best directors, Guillermo del Toro and Quentin Tarantino.
I think the marketing had something to do with that because I think I remember other people discussing it and saying that they went in with the wrong mindset.
Oh yeah, the previews made it look like totally a horror film.
Yeah.
Which is what we were expecting. But I agree with Stan and with Chris. Not enough praise can be heaped on Mad Max Fury Road. I've watched that film so many times. Katie and I got a projector and projected the black and white or the black and chrome version on our wall and just sat there and ate it up. It's such a good film. And Creed as well.
And haven't they finally announced that there's possibly going to be a sequel to it?
That's been the rumor
Yeah.
ever since it came out. We'll see if that actually happens or not, considering
Okay.
what an endeavor it was to make Fury Road. But anyway, moving on. Stan, how about 2016?
2016 is also a really interesting year. Several quality movies, and I have high up there honorable mentions that I'll talk about. Moonlight, which ended up being the surprise Oscar winner for Best Film when it was announced that La La Land was actually announced as the best picture. It was actually Moonlight.
That was a fun, shameful moment,
wasn't it? And
That we didn't stop hearing about for months.
Yeah.
and but it turns out Moonlight is the much better movie, much better film. Let's go. It's definitely better crafted and better performed. And I had a major disappointment with La La Land, but we can talk about that some other episode. But something that was it was noticed enough to get nominated, but I think it was kind of left in the lurch by a lot of critics and viewers. That would be Hell or High Water. Jeff Bridges and my boy Chris Pine, my forehead, Chris Pine.
I'm sorry, what?
Don't do that. He'll explain.
Hell or High Water, really, really great film. Should have been praised more highly. But, and this is going to be the believe it or not, and I tried really hard not to make a superhero movie my best pick, and that would be Captain America: Civil War, which I think was, if not the funnest movie, it could have raised some of the most important issues.
We had a lot of ongoing debates about Team Cap versus Team Iron Man.
Because I'm totally Team Cap, Dave's Team Iron Man, Team Tony, and because I even from the books I was always anti-registration, but
reading the comic books, I was totally anti-registration. In the movie, they made a very good case for pro-registration. Again, that can be a future episode.
but yeah, Captain America: Civil War. Believe it or not, that was my most fun at the movies and my most inspiring time at the movies. So that's my pick of the year.
All right. How about you, Chris? What do you got for 2016?
2016 was a pretty fun year. So that year we had Doctor Strange, which was it did a lot to make me appreciate Doctor Strange more because he's a character I never really got into.
Yeah, this was around the time that Marvel started getting weird and experimental.
Yeah. They had the cloud at that point, so
And introspective.
Yeah,
because it was Doctor Strange is really slow
you
paced.
have to be with him because he's very much it's the mystical arts and it's all that.
Yep. And Tilda Swinton.
Yes.
Just that sentence, and Tilda Swinton. That speaks volumes. Anyway, keep going.
And Mads Mikkelsen,
Yeah.
Yes, true that.
who I think might have been kind of underused in that movie.
He really was.
But he was great for what they had. So, we didn't watch this till way later, thanks to Ted Patterson. But Shin Godzilla,
Yes.
That almost made my list.
that was a fun. It's not
I haven't seen it
it's
yet.
not like my favorite interpretation of Godzilla, but it's a great movie. It turns Godzilla into much more of a natural force of horror. Because it doesn't seem to be much. It's in the other movies and like the updated ones, Godzilla can you get the feeling that Godzilla can think to a certain extent. In this one, it doesn't seem to be even aware
He's
of
a force
himself.
of nature.
Yeah, he's just moving and he doesn't really have much control over himself.
I really enjoyed Shin Godzilla on the one hand. On the other hand, it also provided one of the best mid-afternoon naps I've ever had.
It's true because it's also one of the main points in the movie is to be insanely critical of how the Japanese government handles things, and showing you in mind-numbing detail the bureaucracy of how they would handle something like this.
Yeah.
And my God, I got it.
Yeah.
Captain America: Civil War is on my list of honorable mentions because for all the reasons Stan said, and on top of that, we got Spider-Man back.
Yes.
Yes.
That's true.
Hey, Underoos. And I think my other honorable mention was one we saw very early in the year, Zootopia, Disney movie.
I had a feeling that was going to be on yours.
The Disney animated movie that deals with racism and police brutality and political corruption.
And DMV.
And the DMV.
The greatest
Honestly, the DMV was presented in the best light out of everything in that movie.
Can I just tell you something disturbing I learned fairly recently?
Sure.
Which is that Sexy Judy Hopps is a cosplay that a lot of people, a lot of female cosplayers do.
Is that
and
the
that
ol-
is so upsetting to me.
You didn't do any further research on the
No.
internet. Good.
No.
Good. Good. Because the furries love her.
Furries.
Well, I remember after that movie came out, I started seeing a lot of Judy Hopps cosplay.
Oh, God,
that
yeah, no,
gradually
they-
became Sexy Judy Hopps. And I was like,
it's
what the
essentially
hell is
like some
happening?
face paint, some ears, and a push-up bra.
And a police uniform,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, wow. Anyway, that was a weird side note that I had to take us down.
I hope that didn't awaken something in you.
It did not. If anything, it put something to sleep in me.
But my winner
bunny.
for 2016, if I can move way past that, in all caps in my list is Deadpool,
Yeah.
which I would argue is not a superhero movie, but
In name only.
but it's Deadpool, and Ryan Reynolds fucking nailed it.
Yeah. Yep. I was so happy to see that get made and get an R rating. And so happy to see Ryan Reynolds get to play that the way he wanted to play it.
Yeah, breaking the records for R-rated grossing as an R-rated film until 2019, actually.
Yep. Very nice. All right. So for 2016, I'm going to do the reverse of what I did last time. I'm going to go with, I don't have a worst movie of this year. I have a weirdest by far, and that is the movie Don't Breathe.
Oh, yeah.
Which I went and saw with David Two Dogs Hayes, host of our sister show, This Is a Work, and his wife, Kara. And we both, or all three of us left that film like, what the fuck just happened?
I heard that was a lot. There are other podcasts I listened to that they talked about it in length. And it's like, oh, man.
Yeah. You'll never look at a turkey baster the same way.
Turkey baster.
A very close honorable mention for best was Star Wars Rogue One. Mm-hmm. It's a very divisive film among Star Wars fans. It's a very bleak film. I really appreciated it for the Star Wars creative team making a war story.
That's essentially what you would make for that time period.
Yeah,
in the story.
It has the elements of adventure that you see and you get from other Star Wars films, but it is straight up a war film. But best film of the year is a tie for me.
Yeah.
It's Hell or High Water, as Stan mentioned, which until just this past October would have been a clincher for best film of 2016. Chris Pine and Jeff Bridges are incredible in that film, and it's got some of the best cinematography I've seen in a film in the last decade.
Absolutely.
Tied with that, thanks to Shudder, the horror online streaming platform that should be a sponsor, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Train to Busan.
Oh, how did I not put that on my list?
I have heard of that. I've not seen it,
It's
though.
fantastic.
Zombies on a train.
Yeah.
And holy shit, I had heard so many good things about it. It was the first movie I watched when I got Shudder. If you are a zombie fan, which I know you aren't, Chris.
Correct.
And you haven't seen this film, you need to watch it subtitled. The performances are great. The story is so good. It is a heartbreaking film, which isn't something you get to say a lot about horror films.
It's a father-daughter movie.
And yeah, it's a
Oh my
father-daughter
God.
film.
It's beautiful and scary and exciting. I mean, it's zombies on a train, and everything happens. It's we had mentioned Snowpiercer, and I guess it would be the last segment of this, right?
Yeah.
It's a really great companion piece with Snowpiercer in the sense of the train issue.
Well, the only difference being that in the Train to Busan, they actually get to get off the train
Yes.
a couple of times whenever they get to a station. Yeah, highly recommended. One of the best horror films ever made. One of the best films of 2016. Absolutely. So those are my picks. Hell or High Water tied with Train to Busan. All right, we're going to move on into 2017. Stan, what have you got?
My 2017, I'm going to, I would say these were honorable mentions, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's a three-way tie. Because all these movies just affected me in such maybe in different ways, but at such a high level that I can't really separate the three. And I'll just name them in no particular order. Get Out, War for the Planet of the Apes, and John Wick 2. And unfortunately, John Wick 2 is one I didn't see in the theater, and didn't really know about it until it was almost done. And I'd seen the first John Wick not that much earlier, and so seeing John Wick 2 being this, and probably a bettering of the first one, and yeah, John Wick 2 is great. And then War for the Planet of the Apes, just phenomenal. Again, going into that Zootopia thing about racism and classicism and brutality between groups, and beautiful, beautiful movie. Andy Serkis owns. He can do anything. He's fantastic. And then, of course, Get Out, which probably should have been the Oscar winner for that year. And I think it lost is it Shape of Things? Was it?
Yeah.
Shape of Water.
Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Shape of Water, which
Shape of Things is a Neil LaBute play.
is the Neil LaBute play. Yeah, but Shape of Water, which turned out that I ended up enjoying a lot when I finally did see it. But Get Out is still, I think, a much better crafted film, and it being scary and again about racism.
It's
Sorry, listeners, we had a little bit of audio trouble, so I had to cut out a small section there. Stan, were there any final things you wanted to say about 2017?
I just wanted to say Get Out, wonderful film, and to see Bradley Whitford do one of the great villain roles of all time. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful movie.
Very nice. Chris, 2017.
Sorry, I was just thinking about how the Academy decided that movie wasn't better than What If a Woman Was Horny for the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, I still haven't seen Shape of Water.
No offense against Del Toro, but that's what the premise is, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Fishman
They
sex.
handle it really well.
I'm sure.
It is really good.
for it to win Best Picture.
And he is humanoid.
Oh, good.
He's got the right parts.
Oh, sorry.
Don't think about that too much.
No, my mind made a weird pop culture connection.
And wasn't Creature
based
of the
on-
Black Lagoon the same thing?
No, when you said the right parts, this is gonna be weird too. It connected to that part of my brain that had the memory of the Pepsi commercial with Ray Charles. And it's the right one, baby. Just that's how my brain works.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick insight into that.
Now, Stan, since I haven't seen Shape of Water yet, is there a scene in which the fishman releases his sperm into the water?
And so she lays her eggs
Yeah, and then she has to go into the water to be fertilized.
to lay a cloud of eggs.
Yeah.
Actually, the lady fish would lay her eggs first, and then the
Right.
male fish lays.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I got that backwards.
But no,
But there is no lady fish in this
human.
film. Okay. I had
She
to.
can't release her eggs to the outside. That means
You're right.
He's
That's
gotta
the.
go in after him.
Okay, so Chris, 2017. After that weird segue.
What was that?
That was podcast magic.
Well, I think the worst part is that I answered it.
Yeah, that's the weird part.
You're welcome. So 2017. It was, again, not a lot of surprises for me. That was the year Spider-Man: Homecoming came out.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoyable. They nailed super awkward teen Peter Parker
Mm-hmm.
especially well. And then
And gave us Zendaya
yes,
as MJ, and a great performance for that.
not to discount the Michael Keaton as the Vulture.
Oh man.
Giving one of the best, him and Tom Holland having the best one-on-one scenes
Yes.
ever.
Yes.
Holy shit, that was a great scene.
Yeah, it is. And I think it speaks really well to the progression of villains in the Marvel movies because Darren Cross in Ant-Man, not a great villain. As great as Mads Mikkelsen was in Doctor Strange, not a great villain. But from here on out, we start getting some really good villains, starting
Really
with
good.
Michael Keaton as the Vulture. The scene where he threatens Peter in the car is iconic.
He uses the fact that he figures out who Spider-Man is and that he's a little kid, and he threatens him
Yeah.
like an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is menacing, and it is in every way. It's like doesn't matter if this kid has spider powers. This is scary.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland's maturity, even being a kid, playing a kid, but Tom Holland, even from Civil War times,
Oh, yeah.
his maturity as that character is just
Yeah, they
phenomenal.
they
It's
finally
great.
nailed Peter Parker.
So wonderful.
Absolutely.
Not a huge fan of Tobey Maguire. I liked Andrew Garfield better, but Tom Holland
Tom
nails it.
Holland's great.
I thought Tobey Maguire was okay at the time, and then as it went on, it was like, this is less good than I remember. I never saw the Andrew Garfield ones.
They're good.
Yeah.
They got a lot of backlash, but they're good.
Okay. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. A fun movie. Really fun. I think my favorites might be a tie, and it's like one slightly edges out the other, but I like them both equally enough to say that they were my favorites. One was the Lego Batman movie, which I still need to make
Almost
you
me.
watch, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been threatening me with that
It's
for
not
2
a
years.
threat. I want you to sit down and enjoy this. It's absolutely hilarious.
wonderful.
And
wonderful.
but I think the favorite, and I know Dave, you and I really loved it when we sat down and watched it in theaters. Thor Ragnarok really blew the roof off.
Yeah.
Again, great villain.
A lot of people didn't enjoy the original Thor movie so much. I did.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I thought they did great with the character.
And I thought
everything.
Dark World was great.
I am apparently in the minority of people who enjoyed Dark World.
I enjoyed it. It just was a lower tier.
It doesn't resonate as much.
No.
With the like the other ones, but I thought it was a good movie. But yeah, Thor Ragnarok is the one where they let Taika Waititi just have absolute fun with it. And
Hulk.
And that's like some of the better. I know there's the really good classic Thor stories, but more of the modern Thor stories do what Taika Waititi did, and just make him like a goofball, but an earnest goofball action adventure. And that's I think that's what the heart of Thor is, especially with modern sensibilities.
Nice. All right.
Great choice.
Plus, you have Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster, and he just nails every scene he's in.
Yeah, I did love
Jeff
him.
fucking Goldblum.
All right.
So it's a tie.
Nice. Well, 2017, I have a lot of honorable mentions. The first, as Stan mentioned, is Get Out. Then Logan.
Yeah, Logan's great.
What a fantastic send-off for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Then Baby Driver. Edgar Wright's most recent, maybe not most recent, but one of his best. Again, Thor Ragnarok. Can't praise that highly enough. That was the most fun I had at the movies that year. 3 Billboards Across Ebbing, Missouri.
Yep.
And again, I'm going to go controversial for my number one film of that year. You can blow me, Star Wars fans. Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Best film of that year. I have never understood the hate that film gets. It's tied for me with Empire Strikes Back for the best Star Wars film. I
think you're on the extreme side of a lot of people, because I watched it. It was a good movie. It didn't stick with me very hard.
Oh, it stuck with me hard. I've watched it several times. I just watched it again recently, right the night before we went and saw Rise of Skywalker. I think Rian Johnson nailed it. I appreciate what he did, breaking the conventions of Star Wars films while also managing to stick pretty closely to them as well, turning things on their head. So many people have thrown a fit about what he did with Luke Skywalker. I think it was the best possible extension for that character, and the backstory that they gave him, the setup. I appreciated that film so much, and I loved it so much, and I think Rian Johnson, like I said, nailed it.
Am I wrong, or is this Rogue One? Donnie Yen.
Donnie Yen was in Rogue One.
Is in Rogue One.
Yeah.
So that sequence, because it's on the planet during the. Okay, I'm sorry. There were characters in Last Jedi that I just thought were new characters introduced that I thought was amazing, and I never understood the backlash to Last Jedi. I thought it was a great continuance of this particular sequence, the Abrams sequence of Star Wars films. I think it was like Empire was for the Lucas ones. I thought that was a perfect continuation, and it gave us, the explanation of Kylo Ren and all that, and how he's related, or how he's going to be related to what's her face. It's like and I haven't seen the new one yet, so I'm not sure how that's resolved, their relationship in that. But great introduction of great bridge, especially to what's going to happen now. So yeah, nice choice.
Thank you. All right. So that was 2017 for me. Let's move on to the last 2 years, which feels kind of weird. Stan, 2018, what have you got?
2018 was a really interesting, varied and diverse, to use the buzz term of the decade probably, year in film. And again, these are really high barred honorable mentions, but let's go with it. And a couple of them might be. I'm going to start Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Probably the best animated, definitely cell animation movie in a long time, and great continuation of the, I guess it's not the MCU, it's Sony, isn't it? So,
Yeah, it's its own thing.
So, but the mythos and the bringing of all the Spider-Mans into it is really cool.
Including 1960s comedy character Peter Porker Spider-Ham.
Exactly, and
voiced by John Mulaney.
And the character is great.
Yes.
The character is wonderful. Even the manga
Penny Parker with her mecha spider.
With the mecha spider.
SPDR.
Yes, brilliant. And then the Nicolas Cage Spider Noir.
Yes.
We like Nicolas Cage, at least I do.
Oh, yeah.
And he's done weird shit, and he's probably done stuff that he probably shouldn't have ever haven't done. But Kick-Ass, Big Daddy and Kick-Ass, Spider Noir, and Spider-Man Into the Universe.
My favorite Nicolas Cage
Brilliant
story
stuff.
from the making of that film was he's talking about when he came in to record his lines and the direction that he was being given while recording. Like, I guess he went in with a completely different idea of how to do these
I
lines.
think he was probably trying to do it subdued and proper noir style.
Yeah, and the directors kept trying to pull him into just being Nicolas Cage. And finally, he said something to them like, "So you just want me to play this as Nicolas Cage?" They were like, "Yeah." Okay. And he just voiced all of them as himself, basically.
Wonderful. And the performance is great.
Yeah.
And then whoever they had to be Miles Morales, I know he's a known actor, but really great surprise. And then the guy who plays his uncle, who turns out to be the villain.
Prowler.
Is...
Kudos to the soundtrack people, because you hear, I found the track on there that's the Prowler's theme, and they put that noise in every time it comes through. It's chilling. It's a good, proper, oh shit.
Well, yeah, it's Mahershala Ali as the Prowler.
That's right. Great. And the more we talk about it, the more that he just creeps up closer to. But brilliant. Another one, another honorable mention that raised the bar and a lot of stuff, at least for me, was Stars Born, the Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga, who I was never the hugest Lady Gaga fan until the song she wrote for this movie. And I know you guys hate the theme song for it, The Shallow.
I don't hate it. I just thought it was a weird choice for best song. There were better songs in that film, and I haven't even seen the whole thing.
I agree that it was better. I thought that movie could have produced all 5 Best Picture or Best Song nominees. I thought there was great songs, both from Bradley and from Lady Gaga. Brilliant movie, brilliant. And it was actually a really great tribute to the original versions of Stars Born. And again, great performances. A really high barred, honorable mention for me is Black Panther, which might be the definitive movie of the decade, and maybe of the 20 years that we've been discussing. But we did all 20 years, right? Yes.
Yeah. Well, we will have by the end of this episode.
Yes. But Black Panther is everything they have hyped it to be. Great performances. If they ever recast Black Panther, it's Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they could.
He's owned this from the moment he shows up in
Civil War.
Yeah. and his relationship to all the other MCU characters is just amazing, and the stuff that he gets to be with Winter Soldier, with Bucky, and with Cap is just one of the great relationship setups forever. But my favorite movie, and I thought probably the most important movie of that year of 2018, and again, and I'm really glad Spike won Best Screenplay, but he really should have got
Best Picture and everything, because he should have a producing Oscar for this, is Black Klansman. Everything, I mean, and it introduced us to Adam Driver as a really brilliant actor. Super understated performance, super important performance. And then, and Tom, it is Denzel's son, right? I have no idea. Stand by.
I've been calling him Baby Denzel ever since he came on the scene, and I'm really hoping it is Denzel's son, because if not,
you're just terribly racist.
I mean, no, because his last name is Washington.
Terribly racist.
but he beautiful performance, and it's Denzel quality performance.
Yes, Denzel Washington is in fact his father.
Okay, great. I don't feel shitty anymore because I was linking him.
That could have gone horribly wrong, and I could have had to edit all of this out if that had not turned out to be the case.
But and what a great movie. And if you haven't seen Black Klansman, see it. It's funny. Topher Grace gives one of the great villain performances of all time too in this, and he plays David Dukes, a real live person that is despicable, and you actually have a moment of caring for David Dukes because Topher Grace is.
I didn't.
But Topher is great in his portrayal.
He is great. It's just very hard for me to have any kind of moment of sympathy whatsoever for a white supremacist.
True that. And he is that, and he still is that, because he was totally for the actions done at Charlottesville and stuff. So.
Yeah, Long Walk Productions is going on record as saying "fuck David Duke."
Fuck David Duke. But if you have not seen Black Klansman, see it because it's a great film, but also see it because it's actually important, and monumentally important, I believe. So, but Black Klansman, 2018, Best Picture.
Nice, Chris, 2018.
One sec. I'll be with you in just a moment.
I'm so glad that really.
Are you also searching John David Washington's parentage?
No, I was. No, I was hung up on the fact that while he was talking about Black Panther, which is on my list, I forgot Andy Serkis's name for a minute, despite the fact that.
Oh, we had just talked about him.
We had talked about him earlier. I was like, I was stumbling in my head, and I couldn't. I was looking him up under the Black Panther listings because he steals the scene when he's on there as Claw.
Oh yeah,
he does.
Oh my God,
he does.
When he's not in a studio motion capping things, he's also a good actor in his own right, and he deserves praise for that as well. In a movie that is just like wall to wall great actors busting out awesome performances, and finally bringing to life the whole mythos of Black Panther, and doing it right. It was a really great movie.
Again, introducing great villains too. The villains, like you were saying earlier,
Michael B. Jordan as Eric Killmonger.
But just the evolution of villains in the Marvel films, super frightening, super just.
Well, yeah, the man did want to start a super race war.
Exactly.
So that was fun.
Brilliant.
So I'll just run through these real quick because I have a lot on this list, and it's the ones you would expect because it was Black Panther as my honorable mentions at least, Avengers: Infinity War, Into the Spider-Verse, And then to round out the obligatory superhero stuff, the one neither of you probably even glanced at, but Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
Go to the movie.
Is absolutely hilarious.
Brilliant.
And sometime, Dave, I won't make you watch the whole thing 'cause I don't know if you'd like it, but there are certain
Thank
things
you.
I have to point out that they snuck in some really dark jokes into a PG movie.
Okay, I can't appreciate that. I just remember seeing the trailer for Teen Titans Go to the movie being like, what is happening?
It mainly appeals to kids, but the people who make Teen Titans Go don't give a fuck. And they sneak in some really...
Robin's a dick.
That's the whole point of his character in the show.
He has to learn. He redeems.
Yeah. The whole it's a whole arc for him about learning to appreciate his friends and himself.
Beast Boy.
But I mean, one of the best points, and this is not really a spoiler, but at the end, everyone finally appreciates Robin for everything he can do, and he's about to give a big hero speech, and the credits start fake rolling, and he's like, no, what's happening? I'm giving a speech. It's like, that's the credits. The movie's over. We're leaving. And in a desperation, the character jumps and leaps onto the screen and shouts, "Kids, ask your parents where babies come from." Cut to black. That's how they end the movie.
It is really
And
good.
I died laughing because that is the biggest dick move.
It's like Dick Grayson. If Dick Grayson's a dick.
Well, all of the
But if he was like a young
characters,
Tony Stark.
all of the characters are basically just, they're since it's meant to be a 11-minute comedy episode. Usually, they're kind of flanderized to their more extreme personalities. So Robin is an ill-tempered jerk with short man syndrome. For pretty much all of it, they all have their base qualities that they just exaggerate for comedy, and they get really oh my god. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this. The opening, when they're trying to cheer up Robin, because the main plot is everyone's getting superhero movies but the Teen Titans, and specifically Robin, and Robin really wants one. It's a whole big meta plot, and the other Titans try to cheer him up, and they start singing a song which is literally called "Upbeat Song About Life," sung by Michael Bolton, who appears as a very cartoonish, almost Care Bear looking kind of creature as they sing, and it's a big Lisa Frank montage of bright stuff, and it involves them getting on the road to go to Hollywood to get a movie off the ground. And the end of the song, as Michael Bolton is building up the final line, is he's in the middle of the road singing. The Titans don't see him while they're in their car, and they run him over. And they check him out, and these people who are part of a superhero team poke at the bear and go, and he's not moving. Cyborg yells, "I think his dad is a cop." They get in the car and they drive away. PG movie.
As in Smokey the Bear.
PG movie.
Wow. All right.
So that rounds out the superhero stuff. Then I had a couple of unexpected things to add to the list that were really, really good. One of which was the new Halloween movie, which I saw at your place.
Yep.
Yes.
Really good. I'm not super on board with the trend of let's just ignore everything and do a sequel from here to make these
Right.
big, like Legend of Zelda-esque branching timelines.
Yeah.
But it was a great movie. Very much in a good what if sense. Like, what if we ignore the fact that Michael Myers, continued on and
Corey Feldman killed him.
Yeah. I think that was Jason.
Yeah.
Oh, is
you're
that
thinking of
Jason? That's Jason.
Yeah.
No, okay.
But it's like, what if we ignore the fact that somehow Michael Myers continued on? What if he was actually imprisoned for all that time? So basically, everything between Halloween 1 to this one didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly, better timeline for everyone in between.
Yeah.
Didn't a lot of unnecessary deaths didn't happen in that timeline, and he just basically just went straight for the family anyway when he got out. But
Jamie Lee Curtis is great.
that's true. Yeah,
she's really great in it.
Great as paranoid prepper grandma.
Yep.
Yeah.
And props to
Judy Greer.
Judy Greer
Judy-
and Toby Huss.
Yeah.
They're better known by being comedic actors and doing a lot of voice acting, and they were fantastic as the parents.
Yes.
And especially Judy Greer.
Mm-hmm. Judy Greer's got my favorite moment in that entire movie, which I won't spoil because it is kind of a relatively recent film. But gotcha.
Oh,
At
yes.
the end
Oh my God, that
was such a great moment.
Because I honestly, sometimes you get the feeling of when they're okay. Here's where they're going to put the twist in. Did not see it coming. I thought it was just going to go straight forward at that point, but no, they killed it. Just like she killed him.
Maybe there are 2 more coming out.
There's 2 more. I knew they announced 1 more.
Yeah,
'cause
they're
they're finishing
making
it up
2
now,
more.
aren't they?
Jeez, all right.
Halloween Kills and Halloween something else.
I think they want to end it as a trilogy though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like Halloween Ends or something like that. I think
Yeah, you might be right. Halloween Kills is going to be the next one coming out. Halloween Kills in 2020. Halloween Ends 2021.
Okay. So yeah, at least they're gonna make it a definitive like trilogy, branching off the first movie, and I like that. I like the idea that they have an end point in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Even like I like that better with TV, and I like it with movies where it's like, okay, I see where you could possibly do more, but as horror has taught us,
Yeah.
pushing ahead with that mentality,
Less is more.
yeah, just save it for a new idea.
Yeah.
And I think, and then of course Deadpool 2.
Yes.
Deadpool 2 came out, lived up to the hype, at least for me.
Yeah.
Loved it. Loved Josh Brolin as Cable.
Really great.
And as a
God,
ve-
he
There's-
killed 2 great villains in this.
Oh my God, yes. They finally did Juggernaut right.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
That is, even if I had hated the rest of that movie, that won its place in my heart forever.
He was great.
There's so much to love about that movie for me, especially that. And then Super Troopers 2 finally came out.
Yes.
Like 14 years later. No, longer.
15.
15. The long-awaited sequel to the first one. And, I think it got mostly good reviews, but for me, I told Dave after that movie was over, it was everything I wanted out of a sequel.
Yeah.
And they delivered exactly what they needed to. They didn't go too far. And it worked for me. I loved it. And a surprise addition to my list, based on everything else that's come before, Game Night. I highly recommend that movie. I recommended it to you.
Yeah.
It's a good R-rated comedy starring Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman.
Just as part of a hyper-competitive couple who loves having people over for game night, and they're determined to win. And then his brother shows up and decides to send them on this live game thing that they have to do across the city. Unfortunately, things go awry.
Nice.
And my movie of the year for 2018 is a documentary. It is Won't You Be My Neighbor, the Mr. Rogers documentary. I kept it together through maybe the first third of it. And then I was just basically waterfalling just out my eyes for most of the rest of it.
Oh, that was
It
me with
kills
Christopher Robin.
It kills you, man. I mean,
I still
it
need to see
kills
that. I need to see that so bad.
I started crying about 2 minutes into Christopher Robin, and I did not stop literally for the rest of the film.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a moment in that documentary where Mr. Rogers uses his show to explain to children what assassination is after Robert Kennedy gets killed, and it's chilling to watch just because it's like he's very gently explaining to kids that sometimes people get killed because people don't agree with them.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. And just everything about his life and what he tried to do and accomplish is just it's an excellent documentary, and I can't recommend it enough.
It's gorgeous.
The world didn't deserve Mr. Rogers or Bob Ross.
No, or Steve
They're
Irwin.
too good for this world. All right, well, I'm going to kind of speed through 2018 because a lot of these we've already talked about. In honorable mentions, I've got Black Klansman and Black Panther. I've also got a horror film, one of the best ones in recent memory, Quiet Place,
Yeah.
Oh yes,
which Katie and I saw and loved, and we watched several times, and it's got a sequel coming out next year.
A Quieter Place.
Yes. And also, I did love the Halloween reboot last year, but it's no surprise if you listen to this podcast from the beginning. I heaped praise onto it this time last year, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That was my favorite movie of 2018. In my opinion, the best movie of 2018. They nailed Spider-Man and how much fun it can be.
Yeah.
And everyone in that cast is perfect. It's a perfect movie. It's a perfect 10. So that's my very quick 2018 in review. Let's move on to this year, which will be over in just a few short days, and we'll be into the new Roaring Twenties. Stan, best movies or favorite movies of this year?
I didn't have this on my list, but I'm going to do an honorable mention. I have to call out Avengers Endgame as put, because you had brought up, Chris, that how you like series to end on a high note, and, at a point where...
Well, not even that, but I mean, this is the culmination of an actual proper plan.
Exactly.
11 years in the making.
Exactly. That's what it's like, 11 years, and if not the most well done superhero film, which it is, just a beautiful ending to this cycle.
Yes.
I guess 1 through 4, right? Phase 1 through 4.
3 technically.
Phase
4 is
that's
happening
right. That's
now.
right. They brought it back to 3. So that first 3 phases of the Marvel Universe, brilliant. And Josh Brolin again as Thanos, killing, just doing great jobs on 2 villains, in 2 different versions of the Marvel Universe.
It was funny. They went kind of in reverse. Thanos started as sympathetic and then went full evil.
Yeah, and just wonderful. My favorite movie of 2019, and it could have unseated some of my favorite films in the past. It could be my favorite movie of this 20 years that we've discussed. Definitely of the decade, of the last 10 years for me. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Quentin Tarantino's just wonderful. And up to this, it was the Kill Bill films, which were my ultimate, faves of QT, and I thought were the best crafted movies in a long, long time. And people question me is because, Irishman, Scorsese's Irishman came out this year, and believe it or not, that's not even one of my favorite Scorsese films. Dave and I were talking about this earlier, and it may not even be my top 3 Scorsese films, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, QT's, it is a masterpiece. It, if you have any interest in movies at all, in film at all, start with this one. It's the ultimate maturity of Quentin Tarantino, knowing what he's done in the past, his styles and everything. He just brings everything together, makes a Valentine's to all the great old movies, old movie making, performances. Brad Pitt, shirtless on a rooftop, enough said. Leonardo DiCaprio, could be his best performance of all time. Brilliant movie. Margot Robbie, again, hardly says a word, but is amazing. Amazing. And it is the ending that you wish happens. That's all.
All right. Well, Chris, 2019?
Well, this is where my ability to watch movies fell off a cliff, because the only thing on my list, and it wins by default, unfortunately, is Avengers Endgame. Because I did not get to the theater otherwise this year, and I've been meaning to watch other movies, but I just haven't had time. There are other great movies from this year that I'm sure would make my list. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch them yet. But Endgame is a fantastic movie, so there's no shame in putting that up there.
That's fair. All right. Well, I'm going to round this episode out. 2019, I'm going to start with the worst film I saw this year, and that would be Rambo: Last Blood. a movie that I walked out of going, okay, that wasn't great, and have gradually come to hate ever since we finished it.
I'm about to rent it.
Oh, Stan, don't pay money to see this. Wait till it comes on Netflix or something. After how good Rambo from 2008 was, what a great fucking film. To go from that to this, what happened? But anyway, Avengers Endgame, very high up on my honorable mentions for this year, along with Ready or Not, the best horror comedy I've seen in a long time.
I was very interested in seeing that after the preview, and your praise for it really makes me want to see it now.
Oh, it's fantastic. And it's out on Blu-ray now. I'm going to pick it up one of these days. Just saw this recently. I after talking so much about how much I loved Rian Johnson, talking about The Last Jedi, I had to make sure I saw this before the end of the year. Knives Out, great film. A big contender for my favorite film of this year, but just narrowly edged out, a movie that I did not expect to enjoy. Todd Phillips' The Joker. What a powerhouse of a film. I went into it wondering how is this movie going to make us sympathize or root for the antagonist? And it is such a complicated and such a conflicting film. But I'm going with an agreement with Stan here. Best movie of this year, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I loved it. I just saw it again recently on Christmas Day. My wife got it for me, and we watched it a second time. Like I said, it was in contention with The Joker for best movie of this year, and seeing it a second time clinched it for me. I loved everything about this movie. It's a perfect film. I'd really like to put Star Wars Rise of Skywalker in there as an honorable mention, but I really feel like I need to see it a second time before I can do that, because that might just be recency bias and how much of a Star Wars fan I am. I liked Rise of Skywalker a lot, but it is a conflicting film, especially for Star Wars fans.
Eventually, you two are just going to have to sit down and do a Tarantino cast and just get all those feelings out.
Yeah, probably.
Just run through his whole...
I would not be opposed to that. Because we had this discussion just yesterday, Stan and I at work, ranking Tarantino's films. But anyway, so that is going to do it for us for this year.
I didn't really have any worse because, like I said, going theaters... was slowed down for me, but can I just mention the worst film of the year that I don't think any of us are going to see?
What?
Cats 1.0.
Oh no!
Which
no.
And it got called a flop. Yeah,
it's just been a resounding no thank you from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It just in terms of
myself included.
I have to say good,
including people who liked Cats.
Well, I say that I have. I don't want to see this film on its own. I don't want to go see it to appreciate it. I'd kind of just like to get hammered and take an Uber to a movie theater and watch it drunk to see what if it didn't cost me money.
The only problem is it's going to be missing part of the magic because they pulled a video game move and dropped a patch for the movie to fix all the VFX that were wrong. Like apparently some of apparently the faces weren't sitting properly on the CGI cat bodies. What else? In the last scene, one of the final scenes, Judi Dench's hand was just her normal hand with her wedding band on it. Mm-hmm. It was just they pushed this out without finished VFX.
I'm just mad because...
and then since it's all digital now, they were able to send out the updated version with the fixed graphics. It's like, fuck you. Fuck you. You're not a video game. You don't get to do that.
All right. Well, on that high note...
You don't get to Lucas this.
Yeah. On that high note, we are going to wrap up this episode and this podcast for the year. We hope you have enjoyed our ongoing new Roaring Twenties themes that we've been doing. All of these episodes are backed up on YouTube after New Year's. I'm going to clear out the feed so that we have a fresh start for 2020. So thank you for joining us, and be on the lookout for another new episode, a year-end wrap-up of This Is a Work that will be coming out at the same time as this episode.
You've been warned.
So Stan and Chris, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Very much looking forward to keeping this going in 2020. Listeners, I hope you had a very happy and safe holidays, and I hope you have a very happy new year.
Peace out.